if you remember last time, I also had a torch cell which I called cell and kept it on the desktop. Now I will see whether I can start a new design completely and then say here saying import that old cell which I have got here. To make my thing easier in this point, what I will do is, I will just try to, while this is a full fledged 3D drawing, it is not that useful for me. In this case, just like that, I will make a curve which is approximately about this much size. So it is intentional, I am just making it a little offset so that I will not, and then I have not maintained the dimensions. This is typically the dimensions of my cell. I will now delete this point. You understand, I have a cell here. Only thing is the orientation is not known, and then there is no polarity about it. Similarly, I will also come and insert the two into 20 line display. You see here, two components which are very critical, which I have created on the fly, I have them already with me. So I just now need to find out what is the voltage with this works. Traditionally things were being all used at the either 3 cells or 4 cells. So I will just copy them at 4 places. This is where CAD helps a lot. So I am already on my way. I have the power supply, I have the display. Now I need to decide what to do with it. So sir, can you please show me this? You see here, it's like a box, absolutely no problem. And then when I open here, the core of it is, you have the cells. Cells are available, two things, one is the physical dimensions and all, another is related to the power that they carry, that is the voltage, and then the milliampere hours that shows the, the total energy they carry, and then a little bit about the chemistry and so on like this. So we are already on our way. Two of the things which I have created, including the display, and then I have the power supply. So it is for me now, maybe I will group the whole lot and lock them together. Now if I move one, the other moves absolutely. Now it is for me to decide where to put the PCB, where to make an outline, how much space we have here. This is where, when I go back to the wishboard and those items, I already have an example of how much of they use the word real estate or the footprint it has, how much of it carries. So and now where to get this information, all the components information is usually available with the supplier, and depending on the novelty, the intellectual property and newness of the application, you have things which are available here. So you have these LCD displays from all sizes. This particular one is something which is used by hobbies. Moment you have these things, you can now go back, start your construction. Having done this, now I will see if what else can be done. One of the first thing is, obviously you start with, just like you have done earlier, you start with a nice cute rectangle. Probably this is about the outer thing, and then if you make it here, one of the first things you will notice is it's big, and then I try to dimension it. I will see if the dimensions have been set. Not bad. Now go here and try to adjust the dimension properties. In this case, default, I will try to default, I try to make precision is fixed. X side they have given 1, I will make it 4 millimeters so that we can see it easily. You see here, I end up with something which is 208 mm. 208 mm is no problem. This is about this much. You should understand this typically this length is 4 inches or 100 millimeters. So this span you can measure on your own. It varies from 200 to 250 mm. So if you take it about this much, so I have a product which is about so big and then so wide. Now is there something we do to see how to compact the whole thing? This whole thing is a place where we try to lay out the equipment. Layout or a geometric facility. So what we do here is, now I try my best to see what I can do with it. So that is where this CAD helps us a lot. Carefully watch what happens to this 218. I would like to make a little smaller. Made it 175 by just dragging these power supply cells inside. This is the beauty and the advantage of using a CAD package. Luckily in this case we have space. Space is not a constraint in any way. Since space is not a constraint, we can play around very conveniently with it. The moment the space becomes a constraint, we will come back to the earlier, I think, I do not know whether it is a Raspberry Pi or Arduino or BeagleBone boards that we have shown you. It is tight, extremely tight. There you need to now do something about it. While it looks nice for me, let me go a little faster. What I do is, I pick all these items, and then you see here the total. I do not seem to like that I have reduced it drastically. Now I will go here and see what best I can do with these things. See here, slowly I am trying to make them as compact as possible. What started as something, now you see here my constraint is 116 mm is the width of the device. So, I still have almost if I leave around say 10 mm all around, I end up with a printed circuit board typically about 100 by 120 mm. It is a little squarish, but then can I try to do something else with it? Why should it be squarish? So, why not I now try to constrain the width also. As I have told you, about 100 mm may be more convenient for me. I just leave it like this. I have done something here and then try to make this dimension more convenient for me. Oh, I will just allow me to just just allow me to I have a beautiful thing which is about 100 by 130 mm, except the display does not go inside. Now, minimum thing that I can do about this display is see what I have done. I have offset it to a convenient place where my this display sits reasonably snugly inside. So, I have a little bit of gap here. Now, I see whether the same gap I can maintain here. See here, I have an outline now which is little more easy to handle, meaning I can handle it here, as I have told you, about little over 100 mm I can handle. Then I have a length here which I can now, maybe I can make use of it. Having started at this point, I need to now populate it onto a printed circuit board. So what I do here is try to now construct an outline of a printed circuit board with it. This outline is the one that needs to be carried into the next level of EDA packages, electronic design automation packages. You see here we have an outline. Outline has been started with having taken all the components together, trying to arrange them in a reasonably logical way. Just out of convenience, I have put them into, rather on the fly, I have put them, just reasonably arranged them. I will take a more practical example next. Having done this, now we come into a very nice concept of layers in these things. Advantage of layers is this whole thing is a default. I can use it as a construction layer. Alternatively, I copy these entities, duplicate them in all the other layers and start building up things around it. So in this case, it sits in a layer called the default. Now I will see if I can make another layer here which I shall call top, and then I will make another layer which I shall call the bottom. I have a default layer, then for convenience sake this layer 3 I will change it to layout, or it is a construction layer. And we have a further command which is common in most of the what you call packages. This concept is layer is common. This being a simple drafting this thing, remember this layer is little like the overlay sheet which they use in creating all those cartoons and all that. Usually at the back that whole scene is probably painted and kept fixed, and then on top of it they make transparent sheets which show characters, and then which show characters with a small amount of movement which is different from one to each other. So when they keep them one on top of the other and try to photograph them, the background does not move, these things move, and then you can move it along like this. This is the original concept of how layers came about. In the case of our CAD packages, it is just an attribute of the entity. It is not actually physically on a layer. There are no layers as such. It is just that it is an attribute, and then it is all written to a database like structure, and then depending on what you select here, we can change the color of an object, we can change how it appears in the case of a rendering, and in the case of genuine solid packages, solid modelers, other properties including its density and then other things can be included in that. So right now I will move this whole lot. When I select this thing changes here. You have seen that the color, I do not know, I hope your display is as good as this, but I suggest you go to, especially this is taken from one of these things, you can go to anywhere, try to purchase a proper package, and then one of the first thing you will notice is the colors of all these entities have changed. Now in trying to building up a top cover, I noticed that I need these outlines a lot, so I will take this whole outline And first thing is I probably need to group it or convert it to some other something has happened. You have seen here. What I have done is that layer which I have called the layout layer, I have switched it off, so that when it generates I only have the outline of the package. So again this outline has two components. One is it also represents the bottom cover, and then we have the top cover attached to this. Now I see, just to sort of keep your interest holding on to this, how best I can demonstrate this. See, right now what will be visible on the outside is obviously this small bezel part of it, the display part of it. So what I will start doing it is, I will start drawing a line and then one of the thing you will notice on the extreme right side, I have selected the layer on which I will be working. In this case it is a top layer. And again I switch off the layout. You see here something which represents a little like the box I was talking about has appeared here. See that now I have a cut on the cover. It is not yet a cut, it is just an outline to show where I have to make an opening. So to keep your interest alive, I will now bring you back here. You have seen this. This cute structure has been built up from the approach which I am trying to show you earlier. It looks nice. So right now because of the what you call computer resources, I will just switch off this, go back to my old what you call drawing which I have started. So I have these what you call some display like thing and so on. Now I see what best I can do with it. So I am making this thing a little more presentable. For this the common command they use is the Fellating command. You see here what started quite well at that point nicely, I have got something which is interesting, that is all I can tell. Okay, this part of it is, it makes it, the sharp edges have been removed. I have got something which we have the corners have been made a little rounded. It looks crude, it still does not have that beautiful thing which I was talking about. At least we have started here. Display is a little bigger than the place where I am holding. So going back here, this represents only the top cover because I had switched off the bottom. Now I will go back to the bottom cover. You see it still, and start working on the bottom cover. switch off the top, do the filleting again. It's monotonous, it's difficult for you to stay focused, but kindly please stay online. We have this bottom whatever you can call it, to make things a little faster and things like this. I will go ahead and just sort of speed up these things. What I am trying to do is make the whole thing into one single line. Now I will go to another view and see what I can do with this line. Oh, I think yeah. You see here, first time you will now notice that I have a nice solid here. See here, I have a cute solid here. It looks like a little like a sponge. I started with an outline which is taken from the dimensions which I have done. Then after that I have converted, I have tried to trace a small line with it. Now we see how best I can what you call play around with it. This being a simple surface modeling software, it does not work very well as I would like to have. But then the more sophisticated, especially Dassault, Siemens and all the other bigger things have commands like a shell. How do you create if you have a what you call small flat area, you can make it into a very convenient shell. In this case, I have to do a little bit of circus. So I will try today. I will anyway repeat it because it is very painful for you. So I will stop talking and then see what best you can get out of it. See what I have done? I have offset the curve which I have used for creating the original base. After this, I now go to the side, then create. I have also extruded it, made one more object which is a little. See what I do? I go here, similarly I go here, try to show you. This will look more dramatic. You see here, when we turn it over, it just look like a flight, a piece of a sponge. Now after I play around with this other solid operations, typically a thing called a Boolean difference, I take this, remove this piece from here, see what has happened. I have got a tray like thing with the thickness. I have two convenient I think I need to go to the other view. Just pardon me for this. Now in this view, one of the things you will notice is in this, I have a box cover which already has a thickness. The red part of it, I can use it as the top, or I can use the purple part of it as the top, but in this case, since it is there, I will just see what best I can do. When I did the can you see here? What I have done is, I have used that display opening as a solid which I am going to boolean with this and make a cutout. So eventually this will be my, I take a solid here, now I do the boolean difference between this object and this object, and you see I am in business. What started as just as an outline slowly is now going into what all I want. Now since I have already started with these what do you call layer concepts, I have a nice bottom plate which is a little like what I started with, and if you remember the 4 mounting holes and then the batteries. So if I now go and unhide all the things, I'm sorry, okay, I removed the cells. You see here that as we build, slowly we have come into this beautiful calculator like object which on the fly I tried to create. I tried to be a little slow. The same thing can be continued until you come into those almost organic forms. And if I try to render it, I still have a little problem. The corners don't show up as well as I'd want. So we need to play around with how to catch the highlights and then how to illuminate the object, how to give a texture and all that, which I should try in your next session. But what you wanted to do now is, in case you have some exercise you'd like to do, collect all the components that are likely to be required for it, and if possible, if you have the catalog, you can take them from the catalog. If you do not have the catalog, you still can measure and then try to insert things. You see a little problem with our packages. This original was probably made in inches. This one represents a 3-pin regulator. Like this, as a student exercise, I started making it. You have seen this, my enclosure is lying here and this seems to be scaled up by 100 times. That apart, you notice that over the period of your professional, what do you call this thing, you can create and exchange these objects. If you remember, this is the same 3-terminal that I think it's called a TO, I am not able to get the name, 66 or 67, which is used universally. Okay. But nothing is lost because we can always scale these objects. You have seen this. Obviously, this object needs to be scaled. So, I will see what best I can do as part of this transformation. I can make a 3D scale. Not bad. You have seen this? This is probably more in control than what we want. Why I had made this particular object was that normally these are the ones that are also required for us to use for things like heat sinks. If you remember one of the boards earlier I have seen, he had the same regulator. So, it is now for me to decide on whether I can mount all of this thing onto a plate and then put an adhesive and attach it to one of these covers, or mold it along with that covers, or put openings around it, so that one part of it is the making the enclosure to suit the ergonomics or the use about it. Another is about now the sealing part of it. Now in the corner, in the next class, I'll see whether I can make a small step. Just like I have removed the top lot of material, same thing can be done with another material. Remove a bit of the stuff, take it out, and then we have the, what do you call, lipping, overlap and lipping. It's very easy, you can easily build on this. The lipping can be made into this corner, and then I can also make a gasket. The moment I have this outline, very easy for me to create a gasket which sits on that. So I'll stop here because I think continuously it's been more than an hour, but everything is, you must try it. So as I said, if you have a exercise in mind, collect all the hardware items that you require, put them all together, start making layout drawings. Simple 3-view drawing is sufficient for you. Whereas you have a plan view, then you have natural features. Eventually when you make all the features and make objects like this, you will notice very easy for us to construct very complicated, what do you call, products out of it. CAD has the advantage that once you do it, things will be absolutely useful every time and again. So thank you for being with me, and we'll meet again. Bye.